Hello, everybody, and welcome to MangaPod. We are a weekly podcast in which we all get together after we've read all or part of a manga, and then we discuss it with friendship, love, and lots of spoilers. This week, we are talking Dededede Demon Destruction, or, as I like to call it, by its alternate title, and this is true. According to my anime list, this is true. The alternate title for it is Honobono Fufu, which is what I call it. So that is how I will be referring to this manga throughout the evening. But we discuss chapters 1 through 24. I am Erin of Happily Erin. With me is one of my lovely co-hosts as well as a very special guest. So we'll go around and have everybody introduce themselves, please, starting with Lou.
Hi, my name is Lou from Lou Talks Anime, and I lift a bunch of heavy shit and I put it in a new place. That's my life now. I don't make YouTube anymore. I don't post on Twitter anymore. I don't even watch anime anymore. I barely talk about it.
Oh, no.
All I do is lift heavy shit and put it down inside my new house. Very excited to talk about this manga.
Yes. MathWiz?
Hey, I am MathWiz. I talk about anime sometimes. I have a YouTube channel. The shonen stuff, so this is interesting, a little out of my norm, I guess. So yeah, this was a fun read.
Ooh, this is awesome. I didn't know. So you mostly talk about shonen? That's mostly your jam, is what you're saying?
I occasionally talk about other things, and I want to talk about other things more, but mostly I just fall into shonen because that's my niche. Even though it's like not really a niche, it's the more majority popular thing.
Yeah, but I get that feel. I fall into that too. I love shonen so much. I did see that your header is Hunter x Hunter, correct?
That's my number one.
Yes,
and it's amazing.
That's why we're gonna be friends. Hunter x Hunter's so
awesome.
Good. But thank you so much for coming on. We're so excited to have you. If you guys have never joined us for a MangaPod before, what we like to do is give you a short spoiler-free description of the manga that we read. That will be read by our guest, MathWiz. And then we'll give you our short spoiler-free recommendations, whether we think you should spend time going to read this manga or not. That way, if it sounds like something you are interested in, once we get to spoiler section, you can take your leave, go and read it, and come back and watch the VOD of this on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/happilyerin. And we ask that nobody post any spoilers for anything that we read until we get to spoiler section. Once we're in spoiler section, please don't post any spoilers past chapter 24 of the manga. Don't post any fake spoilers, funny lulz, anything like that, because I don't think any of us have read past chapter 24. So we won't know, unless Blue, have you? You haven't read.
I have not.
Okay.
I have specifically, hold on. Before we go any further, I've had the first volume of this manga sitting on my shelf for months in anticipation of reading it for this MangaPod.
Oh.
So, because I'm, like I said, I'm a mark for Inio Asano. Like Inio Asano, everything Inio Asano has made, I have had feelings about, whether positive or negative. I'll get into it in my spoiler-free thing, but I just wanted to get that across.
Yeah. Yeah. Before, we do have a special thing to do tonight. So before we get into all of our spoiler-free fun stuff, it is Lou's birthday pod this week. This was Lou's pick for us to read, which means, since it's his birthday pod, that we get to sing him happy birthday terribly. So, you ready, MathWiz?
I'm ready when you are.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lou. Happy birthday to you.
I love the internet. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
It's always so hard with the lag. You're welcome. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, MathWiz, if you don't mind.
Dead demons. No, dead demons. destruction. Sky, what do you see? A blue sky? Freedom? A hopeful future? You see none of these. Instead, an ominous alien mothership looms overhead, engulfing the city skyscape. Read the rest of this because that's kind of long-winded, but basically, kid living in Tokyo, there's this big alien ship, and it's spooky and interesting. And that is my synopsis of...
Perfect. I love it. All right. Who would like to go first for the free recommendation? Lou, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I like it, but I would say of everything Asano, with the exception of is it What a Wonderful World, I think is the name of that one. Read everything else instead of this one. This is one of his worst things that I've read. The art in it is nowhere near as good as the art in Poon Poon. And it's like an appreciable, like a massive drop off. Poon Poon, in terms of art, is one of the best looking manga I've ever seen. Like up there in terms of art. And this is just, it was sad to see how much it depreciated. Even with A Girl on the Shore, which was published before this and after Poon Poon, if I'm not mistaken, there was a little bit of a drop off from Poon Poon to A Girl on the Shore, but this was a substantial drop off, and I'm not sure if it has to do with how it's being released. I don't know if this is a weekly series or if it's a monthly series. I don't even remember if Poon Poon was a weekly or a monthly series. Either way, like something changed. And while the storytelling has some very, it has Asano's quirkiness. I think in terms of the just the aesthetic, it's lacking a lot. Yeah. So again, I love Asano. I love everything he's made. This is kind of the stepchild that I begrudgingly invite to my Thanksgiving dinner. To they come, they eat for a little, and then they can go ahead and leave, and that's fine. Kind of.
I agree with that. We have read Poon Poon, and we were gonna discuss Girl on the Show and Solanin, but that MangaPod got moved. So we've read quite a few early, of his work. And I'm going to have to say that this one is definitely the weakest of what we have read. There's still parts of it that are very clearly Asano, and have glimmers of getting really good. But so far what we read was pretty slow paced. And I wasn't super into it, but I did find myself reading it and not feeling like I wasn't hating it. It's just such a low step down from what I'm used to getting out of his content. So if I had to recommend it, I would say check it out. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. But if I had to recommend a Asano series, it would not be this one, if that makes sense.
I feel like this, there's something about this series, if it didn't have Asano's name attached to it, I would like it a lot more.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's the weight of the expectations, given what I've read of his work, that really bring it down. Yeah. Because my expectations were up here because it's Asano, and it by anyone else's standards, I would think, all right, this is pretty good, and I would have a pretty favorable perspective and outlook on it. But I swear, just the second, it's Asano and he's putting this out. No, noticeable drop off. Because I'm let down.
We'll get into it. We'll get into it. What about you, MathWiz?
This is interesting for me because I have never read one of Asano's works yet. I own the first volume of Poon Poon, and I was tempted to read it before reading this just to kind of see what he was about. But I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go into this with, fresh eyes, not knowing what I'm going to get. And I thought it was really interesting to not get too specific just yet. I was interested in like the style and the tone of the whole thing. It was very, it was unique. I could tell that Asano has an interesting way of like crafting characters and just, so unfamiliar with Asano's work. I thought it was pretty interesting, and there were parts where took me a little to get into it, to kind of acclimate to the feel of this series. I'd still recommend it. I thought it was a pretty interesting read. I was kind of curious where it was going to go as things went along.
Awesome. So there you go. I recommend it too. So just to kind of give you guys an idea, it does sound like it is Asano. So it's something that you enjoy Asano and you don't want to be spoiled for, or the premise and what we said sounds interesting and you don't want to be spoiled for it. Now's the time to take your leave. We are going to jump into spoilers section. And after this, please do not post any spoilers for anything past chapter 24 of what we read. So we are going to do spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoiler section.
The mothership is God.
The mothership is God. The alien space invaders are God. Okay, let's start with the question that we usually begin with, which is, what were you expecting before reading this manga? Who would like to go first? Either one of you?
I guess I'll go first, since I had no idea what I was going to be getting from this, from Asano. I was expecting this to be kind of weird. I was expecting it to be sort of like grounded, just like going off of vague things I had heard about Poon Poon. I was expecting it to be kind of like wacky. Like, I don't know, I thought it was going to be a serious story, which it was, but I figured it would have kind of like the comedic undertone that it had. I wasn't really sure what was going to be going on with the alien ship. Like, I wasn't sure if it wanted to be like to actually be serious about like the alien invaders thing, or if that was just kind of like a thing that was present and we were just going to see the daily lives of these characters as this threat just kind of didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Overall, I kind of like the direction that at least like these first few volumes took, where it was just kind of the characters like living out their daily lives as the thing was there and just kind of seeing how that affected them.
To kind of play off of what you were saying, I like that periodically they make it a point to call out how absurd it is that they're going about their daily lives with that impending danger above them.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider like the stopping point that we have, where the mangaka is specifically telling us, oh, there's half a year until humanity dies. It's like really puts into context, especially like with those little flashes of being self-aware of just how ridiculous it is that they are still meandering about and not actively or being proactive in terms of like enjoying their last moments.
Yeah, I was expecting even weirder. I was expecting way weirder, and a lot heavier on the sci-fi. And for some reason, like, I was expecting a lot heavier on the sci-fi, and I was expecting slice of life, because Asano is all about character interactions and relationships. Like every manga of his that we have read is all like heavily character driven, like very character driven. And so I was expecting that. But I wasn't expecting as little alien as we got. And as much slice of life as we got. So it was skewed way differently than what I expected going into it. Yeah, I don't know. I was not anticipating as much like day-to-day slice of life stuff. I wasn't expecting it to be as like light-hearted either, if that makes sense. Like there's definitely stuff that happens. Like we have a character die. There is heavy stuff, and the overall feeling of it, atmosphere should be dread, but it just felt very lighthearted and day to day about like watching these girls grow up and seeing who they're becoming. So it just felt much more lighthearted than other stuff that I would have expected from this mangaka. So it was just, I don't know, but the genre is comedy. Like comedy is listed as one of the genres for it, but it just still caught me off guard because I didn't even look at the genre for it before we went into it, because I was like, it's Asano, I know what to expect. Not so much. Was very caught off guard. So should we talk about characters, since it was such a heavy side of it?
I want to go into my expectations a little bit.
Oh, sorry, Lou. I totally skipped over you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Like,
you usually start, so I was like...
I've been really heavy-handed with my expectations, like at least in a spoiler-free section, but I feel like I need to go into more detail. In other manga, Asano has done the ensemble cast, and he's done things that focus on a pair of people. This is one of those manga that he does with an ensemble cast. Another one that kind of was like that was Poon Poon, which Poon Poon had a fairly sizable cast. But if you notice the way Poon Poon is structured, typically you're only seeing two characters at a time. I think one of the shortcomings with this manga was I expected it to focus on specifically two characters, but the fact that since there were so many people involved at the same time, I think that Asano was overwhelmed by the prospect of telling all these stories at the same time instead of pacing them out separately, which you start to see when the manga is at its best when the girls are off separated from the group, as opposed to when they're together, which the manga is supposed to be focusing on them together. And I think that Asano and other manga executed that significantly better. And it's a shame. It really is a shame that it's more of a structural issue than anything that I have with this manga. In terms of my expectations of the tone and how the story was to be presented, I think basically everything was met. I expected this to be a slice of life because that's what Asano does. And I honestly didn't expect a lot of the sci-fi element. In fact, I would say that we probably got a little bit more than what I was expecting. I'm curious. I'm willing to say though that I'm more curious about how that sci-fi element is going to begin to manifest in the story, and how that is going to impact the slice of life component. Especially with what we saw in that last chapter with the invaders being shot to death. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's a lot of interesting groundwork here, and I want to read more, which, spoilers for my feelings about this manga. I do want to read more, but I feel like it met my expectations, but it failed on so many other levels.
Yeah. I can totally see where you're coming from with that. Let's jump into characters. Who do you guys want to start with?
All right. That one girl that said, that love sucks and people should just masturbate to death?
Yeah.
That one.
Is that Pigtail Girl?
Yeah, it's Pigtail Girl.
Sounds like Pigtail Girl. Oran?
Oran, yeah.
Oran. I always think of, Oran High School Host Club.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I kept on thinking of the opening, or no, specifically the ending, because everyone talks about the opening for Oran, but for me the ending always stood out more because it had those really sick guitar riffs in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember the ending. Yeah, I just remember the opening. Yeah, let's talk about her. How did you guys feel about her as a character? Did you connect with her? What were your thoughts?
I'd say she was like 100% what I was like expecting out of this mangaka. Like I expected kind of wacky, but also I don't know. She's great. I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah. She's so funny, so silly and ridiculous. Like, I think for most of the characters, I don't really feel super connected to any of them. Like, I'm interested to see where their story goes, but I'm not like invested really. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like an emotional connection with many of like any of the characters, except the brother. Feel him on a spiritual level. And so like but her, she definitely felt like she lived up to the quirky that Asano wanted her to be. And I loved the weird shit that she said. Like she would just go on like tangents just constantly, and it was just interesting watching like her dialogue, like seeing what she was gonna say and how she was going to react to situations. Like, what weird shit was she going to say next? And it's like the whole, the scene where it's like the extra chapter where the one girl is just like, realizes that she loves BL, and she just announces like, I love BL, and has this confession, and then Oran just goes off on this long tantrum, and is just like, embrace it! We don't have enough people openly embracing it, and is just yelling at the top of her lungs about it. I was just like, girl, I just like reading your dialogue. Like, that's my favorite part of this manga, is reading what Oran's gonna say.
It's either that or anything the brother does.
Yeah, the brother.
But I feel like that's just a quirky family. I feel like the story, there's enough of them there. I feel like if Asano would have added another character that was just as quirky, it would have been overplayed.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I definitely like Oran. From the girls, or from the group of girls, she was easily my favorite character because she had personality to her, and even though she was always, or maybe like they were jokes, I feel like I have a sense of what she wants to accomplish, which is something that I don't get with the other characters. And that's kind of par for the course with Asano's characters, is that for the most part, they don't have a direction. They don't have an end game. You know, it's something that they discover over the course of the story. And I feel like that's what we're getting with them, or we're getting 4 or 5 of these stories, with the exception of Oran, who knows that she wants to be a dictator and she wants to create a society in which technology is advanced. That's what she wants. She wants to preserve and exploit the fuck out of capitalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she's like, what interests me about like her and where she's at now is where we ended was right before, like you were saying, Lou, 6 months left of humanity or whatever it is. So up to this point, the alien invaders, we've seen minimal with them. Most of the time what we hear is just Earth destroying them. Like they were sending a saucer, Earth destroyed it. We see people like Earthlings, sure, go into like the disaster sites and search to make sure they hit the quota for how many space invaders they kill or something like that. And so then in the very last chapter, last or second to last, we see those 2 or the space aliens get killed, which we were talking about this before we went live, hurt so bad, made me so sad. The most emotion I felt throughout this entire manga was when the little alien got shot in the face. Like that made me so sad. But knowing like where she's at now and how she's currently feeling about Earth government and the aliens, and that the aliens are going to be playing a much bigger role, it feels like, very quickly. I want to see what her role becomes in connection, because she also is the one who made contact with the boy, the old pop idol. So she met him, and so far she's like the first one that he openly like sought out and talked to that we've seen, really, other than like the kids with the snowmen. And so that makes me interested to see how their connection is gonna run, if there's anything else gonna happen with them too.
Yep. I agree.
And then we have her glasses friend. We have main glasses lady.
So she wants to bang her teacher, and that's her fetish, and I'm not gonna kink shame her. But as an educator, that's bad. Don't do that.
Don't do that. And the teacher is just like totally knows about the crush. Very openly was like, yo, I'm not going to bang you while you're a high school student. And then she goes, I graduated. And he's like, I'm not going to bang you. And so it's like, all right, props to you for that. But then he's still like inviting her to his home and obviously like not trying to distance himself from the fact that this girl obviously has raging hormones and a crush on him. And he like becomes part of the group at times too. I'm like, how old are you, Mr. Teacher? You are a young teacher, aren't you, sir?
Usually
they were together as a group, and like they were just doing rock paper scissors or whatever, and he just goes to throw his hand in, and they're like, no, you're not part of this.
Exactly.
Usually his character type is portrayed as someone in their mid-20s.
Yeah.
Like from you know, as per tropes, this would be someone that's, you know, like 26, 27, which is still like a massive age gap, but you know.
Yeah.
Cultural differences.
He's definitely younger. Yeah. It is nice though that like there is that open honesty that Asano always like applies to his characters, and so there's the dialogue between characters, even though there's times where it's like, this feels so weird that you're having this discussion, or this is really weird. There's just something endearing about it because it feels like it's a normal conversation. Like it's just two characters conversing. And so even when she went over to like his apartment to get the book or whatever, and she's openly like flirting with him, and she leaves and he's like, after you graduate we can have a relationship as long as you only want sex or something like that. I'm like, this is such a bizarre like conversation that you guys are having here. It's just so Asano. That's what I thought. I was like, this is such an Asano conversation. It's
definitely not paint by numbers. Like it's Asano has his own particular way of presenting dialogue, and like what characters are willing to say to each other. And I think that's why I like his work so much, is because he's not afraid of presenting some pretty obscene shit at times. You know, some definitely inappropriate content at times. So many things I can reference from his other works that are kind of in the same vein. But I think like, what you mentioned, Erin, is definitely a clear example of like the types of conversation that this teacher is having with with his student. They definitely fall in line with how, I guess I don't want to call it grounded, because while it is grounded and it feels real, these aren't conversations you'd hear a teacher and a student having under normal circumstances.
No.
So I don't know. Like it's in that gray area between like kind of surreal in terms of like what the dialogue is, or the emotions that the dialogue is trying to convey, but also like somewhere kind of grounded.
Yeah.
I like, it's a middle ground that I can't really qualify.
He like
exactly.
convinces you that it's normal conversations. Like I don't know what it is. It's just the way that he presents it, that you're like thinking about how obscene and bizarre this conversation is, but the way he presents it, you're like, oh, it's just two people talking. And so it just gives you such a like bizarre feeling. You're like, this isn't normal, but why is he making me think it's normal?
At least it's a little better than middle schoolers having sex.
That's true. Yeah. Yep. Can't. I'm so excited about when we get to talk about that one.
Asano is an interesting person, MathWiz.
Sounds like it.
What are your thoughts on Glasses character? MathWiz?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really have a whole lot to say about him. Like he was interesting. Existence there and how he kind of like reflect.
Wait, which character do you think that I?
Well, the girl and her crush both had glasses.
Oh, lol.
I think
girl. I forgot that the teacher had glasses.
Short-haired girl, Kaode, I think, or Kaode or something like that. What's her name?
Kadode.
Something like that.
There you go. Either of them.
The one that wanted to bang her teacher. Like, what were your thoughts on her?
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I did think of that initial situation when they presented it. But I did like that. I don't know where I was going with that. So instead, I will talk about what I really liked, and that was her dynamic with Oron and how they through like gaming and just the way that they can like banter off each other. It was cool, and I just liked their friendship there. But then there was also, there were all these moments where they'd be goofy and talk about, but there were also just moments that I really felt like there was like a strong. These two were pretty close. Like there's just this little quiet moment at, I forget which chapter it was, but it's after the Christmas thing, and they're just kind of walking home, or they're just walking around, and she puts out her hand to like hold hands, or Oron was doing that, and then what's her name, Kadode, she just puts out like scissors, thinking she's going for like rock paper scissors, and it's just like, it's also like serious, and it's kind of touching, because then like right next to that is a panel of them holding hands, and it's just a quiet little moment, and I really liked it. I like these two. I like their dynamic. I think they play off each other well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Their relationship is so believable as two friends who have known each other for a long time and who want to be best friends. Like, there's no doubt that those two like have each other's backs and that they get along and they have the same relationship, like that they love each other. Like, it's never a doubt that those two are best friends. And I loved the moment where they both found out that neither of them got into the school they wanted to get into.
Yes, that was good too.
That was one of my favorite moments. Where they're like, it's so set up for them to do the like cliche, we both got in, and instead they're both like, I didn't get in either. It was perfect. So like you were talking about, there is an ensemble cast, but I feel like those two are the ones that so far we've gotten the most out of. Like, we've gotten Kurode's mom and future step papa, but like her relationship with her mom is really bizarre. Her mom's bizarre.
I mean, I think that's pretty par for the course with Asano.
Yeah.
Like, all moms are treated as like super fucking weird, like in every fucking manga he does.
Yeah, it's true.
MathWiz, you will learn to appreciate that. Look, I'm gonna take a second and step away from talking about this manga to say, MathWiz, you need to read Poon Poon. It's my favorite manga. It can get as dark, if not darker, than Hunter x Hunter. in terms of like how like the themes and the overall tone of the story, and also have like a really lighthearted air at times. And it's a little bird, but it's fucking great. So
Tsun-tsun
highly
is
recommend
brilliant.
that.
Yeah.
But like in terms of what this manga does, those small quiet moments, you see a ton of them in Pun Pun, which is why this manga is so frustrating, because I know that Asano can do these things and can do them extremely well because he's done them extremely well. But I feel like there's just everything is diluted because of the size of the cast. Like if the story would have focused on these two, because like I think we can all agree that they are the focal point of the story, and everyone else is just kind of peripheral to what they're experiencing. You know, maybe there are pieces that get sacrificed later for the sake of like bringing the two main girls together. But I feel like this story it just dropped the ball because of how it chose to set everything up.
And I just like when I was saying I don't have that much emotional attachment to any of like the characters. So like because they're a group of 5 girls. If you guys are currently listening, watching, and haven't read it, main cast is like a group of 5 girls who are friends in high school. About halfway through our reading, I think it was, one of the girls dies in either an accident or an invasion, something, like she dies. And I felt like, I was just like, oh, okay. I did not personally feel that much of an emotional impact by that death at all. It just felt, I don't know. Just felt weird, like another thing that happened in this slice of life manga, which maybe it was supposed to feel that way. But I think that just kind of shows I wish the focus was mostly just on the 2 girls, like Lou was saying, that I just don't feel that much of an emotional attachment to the rest of the cast either. Like we had a one-off chapter with the other girl, the other girl with the glasses with the really big family, who went on the date. Like we had her date chapter. I thought she was gonna die. Like I actually did think that it was gonna be like another accident happened and she would end up dying next. But I also was just kind of like reading the chapter. I wasn't super invested in what I was reading at all.
I would definitely agree that I found the chapter that cut away to focus on her date with the guy, and kind of the same with the girl who died when she had her little cutaway with like conspiracy boy, because I don't remember what his name was.
Yeah.
Those were probably the chapters where I was kind of like the least invested. Like I could see what they were going for, like try to maybe flesh out these characters a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't really gel with me. I didn't find myself as entertained.
Question: have either of you either read or seen Nanan Biori?
I can't remember. Hold on.
Because I just realized that
No.
Oran reminds me a lot of one of the main characters from that show.
Is it the girl with the purple hair?
Well, I'm colorblind, so I wouldn't know. But her name is Renge. She's the youngest of the group. Because they have that same like quirky, spouts random shit attitude. And I love Renge, and I just made that connection, and I think that's why I love Oran so much.
Yeah.
Because she's very much, she marches to the beat of her own drum without giving much of a fuck about anything else.
Yeah. Let's talk about art. What are you guys' thoughts on the art? I know Lou's got a lot of feelings.
You guys can go first.
MathWiz, what about you?
I was kind of interested. I guess the main thing that really caught my eye at first was just kind of like the opening few shot, like the opening shot of room, where it's just there's a lot of like detail into the layout of this room. Like it's a really tiny room, but like so much is focused around like this little desk. Like you've got her keyboard, you've got all the cords jumbled up in the corner, a bunch of like magazines, like open soda cans, like everything like cluttered, and it very quickly like gives you an idea of like what this character is about. Like very messy, very into gaming and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I was also sort of interested in like with criticizing art, so I'm trying to figure out the right words here. But there were certain moments that I think like there was one part in particular where they were kind of looking into Kadode's like I don't think I'm pronouncing her name right, Kadode. Like the little bit that focused on like her father and how the accident happened and then he never came back. And I liked there was like 2 pages where it was just like black and this one little dialogue bubble saying that like I don't think he'll ever come back. And it really gave a feeling of like emptiness. Like her father doesn't seem like he's coming back, and wait through just like the empty space. But specific moments, I guess I don't have much to say on just the general aesthetic. I think it's like I kind of like the cute little the way some of the characters' eyes are drawn, but I don't know. I don't have
Yeah. And I feeling about Asano's work is so weird for me. Because I'm just like Asano's work is just always so crazy detailed and crazy clean. And there's just something about the charm that usually he brings to his work that is a little bit missing from this one. I don't know if it's because we don't have as many like full page spreads, or there's just not as much creativity when it comes to how the panels are done or what it is, but there's just some kind of spark that's missing from it. And kind of bums me out a little bit. But I mean, it's still for manga art really well done. Like it is really, it is good. It's just not what I would expect from Asano. He did have a few full page panels with like the city and the mothership and stuff like that, which I thought were pretty cool. And I really liked some of the character facial designs, where like the characters in the background, whether they were out walking or in her classroom, there were some that just had really like poofy face, like heads with really small noses and stuff like that. Like one of the soldiers was drawn that way, so it was just like suddenly drawn very differently, which I actually kind of really liked getting to see that. But overall, I don't think it expressed the emotional depth that Asano usually does, and maybe it didn't need to yet because it's so much a little bit more lighthearted than his previous or his other works, but there was just something lacking for me from it. But it's Asano, so it is solid for an artist. Like it's still really good, so it feels weird to criticize it because it is good. But I just feel like with Asano, like I was expecting so much more emotional depth to it that I don't know.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn to bitch about the art because that's what I'm gonna do. And I think I have, after mulling it over, I think I have explanations. But before I get into the negative, I'd like to highlight one positive, and that is the instances where we're given a good look at the mothership. And I'm not talking about like in the date where it was seen off in the distance, but every time it was drawn, what really stood out to me was the fact that mechanically it was really well put together, and it had a very interesting design. It reminded me kind of the spoilers for One Punch Man, kind of, but there's a ship in One Punch Man, roughly the same size, that briefly appears.
Yeah.
Like this feels like a more well thought out version of that ship. In other words, a lot of detail is going into this, and I would imagine that like those panels, whenever he's gonna draw them, he has to be like, shit, I have to do this again. And there has to be an element of frustration there. I think that while those are really well done, the manga is just kind of falls flat in a lot of other respects. The character designs that he opted for in this one more are rounder than in his previous works, and I think that was a choice to specifically highlight the more lighthearted nature of the tone. In some of the other manga, like Poon Poon, for example, well, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of sharp lines because his characters are drawn very round. Generally speaking, I feel like this more puffy presentation for these characters, it was a narrative decision, not an artistic one, and I think that the art suffered for that narrative choice. In terms of just the execution of the art, I have no complaints about that. I think like Asano accomplished what he set out to do. I just don't like what he was planning to do. Yeah, I mean, there aren't any instances of line work where I have issues, or perspective, or shading, or how things are laid out. Everything made sense. It's just a matter of these decisions that you made were not good decisions, not because that you weren't capable of executing them. It's because you executed them. They were just really shit decisions.
Yeah.
Again, it still looks good. Like what Erin was saying. It's still well above a lot of the shit that we've read on MangaPod, but not anywhere near as high as the other stuff we've like. Definitely any of the Asano stuff, it's definitely at the bottom in terms of art. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say about the art.
Yeah. Like he can usually say so much through just like character description, or like just through characters and like the art, that I feel like I agree with what you're saying, where it feels like that wasn't executed in a way that could have been done good, I guess. Yeah, let's see. Do you guys have anything else, or anybody else you would like to talk about?
I think
did like the one brother, what did they call him, like the Black Knight or whatever? Like you have these four brothers who are just like, they look identical, and then there's just this one guy who is just, he's a champ. He's great.
Yes. Yeah, the brother.
That guy's awesome. I love that guy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the brothers are all quirky. Like we've got the one who you were just talking about, and then Oron's brother too.
I want to spin off manga for those two, of those two. Like I want them to be roommates. I think it would be awesome. Like you have the 4chan troll rooming with like the super edgelord.
Yes.
I think that would be fantastic. I'm a fan. Like sign me up for that.
Yes, I agree. That's something that, like, since it was just picking up with the alien stuff, and we got to see what the aliens actually look like, aside from Pop Idol Boy. What were you guys' thoughts on Pop Idol Boy?
Yeah, I thought it was fucking weird when he sneezed and half his face was facing the other way.
Yeah.
Yes. I was like, that's what I was expecting.
That's more in line with what you expect with Asano.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that type of shit.
which makes me excited if it's gonna pick up and we're gonna get even more of that. Not that I don't love slice of life. Like, I do love slice of life stuff. I've just read better slice of life, and so I want the alien element to come into it to see if it shifts things around a little bit for it. So yeah, when he sneezed in his head and he was like, "Ooh, that was close," and like twists his head back. It's like, "Oh, I'm into it." Or when when Oron was like starting to calling him out, like, "Wait, are you a member of the mothership?" And then he just like takes off and he's just floating away with his hair or whatever it was that was just spinning on him.
Or his hand puppet.
His hand puppet?
His fucking hand puppet. That was great.
I really liked him. I really want to see more of him.
It was really interesting just seeing the two, like him with his hand puppet and her just being her quirky self. It was a short interaction, but I could see them having more in the future, and I highly anticipate it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Should we do final thoughts and ratings? Do you guys have anything else you want to touch on? No? Okay.
No.
Anybody want to go first? I'm trying to think of a number value. I always have this issue.
I'll go first.
Hit it.
All right. So, to make it abundantly clear, Poon Poon for me was a 10. All right, 11, 12 out of 10. Mm-hmm. My all-time favorite piece of media, like over any movie, any game I've played, over any book I've read, is my favorite thing. Over any album I've listened to, it's better than everything else. So that's what this manga had to live up to, which are some pretty unfair expectations. So I'm going to try and divorce this rating from those expectations, because it's not fair to hold it to the same standard, because it's trying to do something entirely different. So in terms of a number value score, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think that there were some really fun character interactions. The art, while I wasn't a fan of the design choices, was really well executed. I think that there is a lack of a strong central driving force behind the characters. We're aware of the fact that there isn't much time left for humanity, but unfortunately, we're not privy to how much of a role the characters are going to have in the end or the downfall of humanity, or maybe saving it, or maybe causing a radical change in society. Like, there isn't enough information for me to really say that this manga is going anywhere, because up until now, it's just been the characters, living their lives, which is which is the genre tag. That's what it's supposed to be. But like, because of the framework that's presented to us, we're supposed to believe that something bigger is going to happen, kind of in that 20th Century Boys kind of way. Yeah. Where you get a very grounded story at first, and it but it changes into something more chaotic and over the top. Like, that's what I feel like this manga will eventually turn into. That's what I'm hoping it turns into, because 20th Century Boys is amazing, and anything that tries to emulate it and achieves at least a modest amount of success will be good. But like, until I see that direction, I can't justify anything higher than a 7.5. In fact, I'm gonna bump my score down to a 7 out of 10.
MathWiz?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was also probably thinking about a 7 out of 10 based on what I had read so far. My thoughts on it, what I kind of liked about this early stretch of chapters that shifting later on was the way that this ship was kind of there, and in a way I thought it served as kind of like the way it affected the characters. I thought was an interesting, it as sort of like not metaphor, but I can't think of another term, as just the way things in life, like outside forces, can just kind of exist. They're there, but there's not much that you can really do to like affect it. So you just kind of live with it. Like it's the elephant in the room. You see the giant spaceship floating in the sky, and you know it's there, but you can't really do anything about it. So you just kind of go on and hope that the world doesn't end. You just kind of keep doing your daily life. And I thought this manga captured that feeling pretty well, but at the same time, longevity there is to gain out of that, which I guess it is good that it will be switching more into the, they said that, destruction of humanity in 6 months or whatever. From that more slice of lifey style. And I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to enjoy that, because I don't know how I feel about the whole alien yet. Like the way it was integrated felt kind of weird. Overall, I guess I'd say, like a 7, because it felt, I guess I also expected it to be a little more like than it was, and it was lighthearted, but I don't know, I guess the humor didn't gel with me quite as much as I was. So yeah, it was enjoyable. I'd still recommend it, but more interested in checking out Asano's other work. I'll probably just put this on hold and go read Poon Poon or something.
Yeah. Cool. I was thinking like a 6 to a 6.5 out of 10. I don't know. It just felt like a really weird read for me. I wasn't super into it, but I didn't dislike it at all. So I was very neutral towards it. I didn't feel a super connection to many of the characters. I think having that, like, I'm kind of different in that I would enjoy and am interested to see what the alien side of it brings in. And I do tend to enjoy, Asano's slice of life, like, character interaction side of things, but this just felt kind of disjointed and a little bit slow paced for me. And I have very recently I read a different slice of life that was like top tier slice of life for me, so I don't know if that like kind of like skewed slice of life for me. But yeah, like the comedy didn't really gel. Like there was definitely funny moments and funny dialogue that was very Asano, but it just didn't stand out to me as anything that like interesting or exciting, or I need to get more of this. I do want to finish it just because of how much I love Asano's other stuff. But I wouldn't say I'm really invested in much about it. So I think it's a good story. It's a good start, but I'm not really into it. So I think about a 6 to a 6.5 is where I'm landing with this one. Probably. So there you have it. Those are our ratings. If it sounds like something you are interested in, definitely go and check out Honobono Fufu or Demon Destruction. We are going to read, Lou and I are going to read the description for the manga that we are reading next week. We are reading 2. So I will read one and he will read the other. Would you like to go first, or do you want me to?
I'll go first. I have mine pulled up.
Hit it.
All right. In a seaside town where very little happens, middle school students blank and blank live a rather dull life. But when blank's crush breaks her heart, their situation becomes quite unordinary. She starts a no-strings-attached relationship with blank, whom she had previously rejected, both finding solace in the other in order to fill the emotional voids in their lives. However, being friends with benefits becomes complicated when real feelings begin to develop as the consequences of their relationship start to take their toll on those around them and themselves.
Perfect. All right, that is one. I'm going to read the description for the other. After graduating from college, Blank went straight to work as an office lady, but she can't help feeling there should be something more to life. Determined to find a worthier goal, she quits work, but can she actually make her nebulous dreams come true? And how will her sudden decision affect her relationship with Blank?
All right, so apparently Soggy
Soggy-
remembers.
Yeah, Soggy
that
Money is like,
this has been read. Like,
It
we've
has.
read these descriptions a couple times.
yeah.
But here's a hint. We've never done these manga.
Yeah.
We've had to postpone this one a few times.
Ooh.
See if they'll guess.
See if they get it. Oh. You got it. Come on. I believe in you. Believe.
I think the last time someone did guess it for sure.
Yeah, I remember last time somebody got one of them. I think the other one, because it's not quite as well known as the other, was a little bit harder. But if they get one, we'll give them the other.
Yeah.
Come on. It is.
I believe in you.
It is stickied on the Reddit. We've remembered how to sticky a post. We couldn't remember how to do it, so we finally did. So the schedule is posted, and it's posted there. So we'll give I'll count to 5. We'll give him another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're reading Lou
All right, A Girl on a Shore.
and
Or A Girl on the Shore.
and Solanin. Both Inu Asano.
These
Once
are
more.
Two good weeks for me. Two
Yeah.
consecutive good weeks for me.
It's good.
Two Asano works that are better than this one.
Yes, definitely. And much more R-rated.
Oh yeah.
One of which... very R-rated. Like... I'm just take my word for it.
Like, you might end up on a watch list, but you know what? They sell this at Barnes and Noble, so I mean, how bad can it really be?
Yeah, so we're getting 2 weeks. I mean, Asano in stoked. Lou is happy. Dodger's happy. I'm happy. So that is what we're going to be reading next week. They are both very short. I think they're only like 8 and 16 chapters.
It's like 2 volumes each.
Yeah, something like that. So they're both very short. They're very fast reads. So don't be intimidated by the fact that we're saying we're reading 2 series. They're very quick. So we're reading all of those. Let's go around and read or shout out our stuff super fast. I'm Erin of Happily Erin. I have a YouTube channel. I uploaded a ton of previous MangaPods there. There's still a few missing, but a bunch went up today, and then YouTube crashed, so I apologize. I think it was my fault. But I also have anime reviews, anime first impressions, mental health awareness stuff, all there. I haven't posted anything beyond MangaPod recently because I am working on a book, and I've got some exciting announcements about that coming up soon. But if you want to check those out or talk to me anywhere else, my Twitter is Happily Erin, Instagram Happily Erin. I'm Happily Erin all across the everything. So come in, talk to me about white-haired anime boys, Voltron, and whatever else fancies ya. That's me.
Hey, my name's Lou. You can find me mostly on Twitter at LouTalksAnime, where I bitch about moving heavy things. And I also share funny stories about my students being weaves. Like today, I had a student talk to me about Goblin Slayer, and I'm like, dude, you're 12. Why are you watching that show?
No.
It was pretty great. And then they started talking, I don't know, because I'm also the chess coach for my school. So a bunch of them, of my students, after that club meeting ended, they sat me down for 15 minutes and started picking my brain about anime. And I swear, some of them, they watch some interesting stuff.
No.
But, aside from sharing those little anecdotes on Twitter, occasionally I will talk about anime because, that's why I started doing the social media thing. And speaking about talking about anime, I have a YouTube channel where I occasionally post content, and that's at youtube.com/LouTalksAnime now. I have a few videos scripted. One is my last meta commentary video where I talk about something community related. And then from there, I'm swearing off of that. And I'm going, really into the idea of going back to my roots of just exclusively talking about the anime itself, because I feel like it's been a long time since I've done anything like that. So, just keep an eye on the channel and keep an eye on my Twitter. and that's my stuff.
And I'm MathWiz. You can find me on Twitter at MathWiz97X. I anime stuff. I have the YouTube channel thing, youtube.com/MathWiz stuff. I recently made a video about underdogs. And yeah, so if that suits your fancy, go check me out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, this was fun.
Awesome. You'll have to come
I
on.
agree.
You'll have to come on again soon. We'd love to have you.
Maybe for some shonen.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be a little more I don't know, animated. I don't know. I'm not great with podcasts.
I know.
You're
awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
You were great. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much to everybody who joined us in chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. If you would like more MangaPod, we have a subreddit, reddit.com/r/MangaPod. The schedule for the end of the year is posted there, as well as a recommendation thread. If there's a manga you would like us to check out, go ahead and post a comment there. If it is already posted, go ahead and upvote it if it's something you would like us to look at. Otherwise, we will be here, same time, same place, next week, 7:30 p.m., talking Solanin and Girl on a Shore, both of each. And we will see you guys then. Bye!
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.